everybody. This is That Dog Training Show with Tanya Yarbrough. That would be me. And this is episode number 62. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of things to talk about. I'm going to have to get other people on this show so I can just take a break and you can listen to somebody else with some other kind of knowledge about dogs and stuff. This is the show where we talk about the dogs we love and the stupid human behaviors we don't, also known as shubs. So, today's show is called You Stink. Uh, and I'll explain that, obviously, for the rest of the show. But right now, I just want to let you know that you can follow this show through Twitter at Kazzy Dog Train, K-A-Z-Z-I, Dog Train. Or you can follow me on Instagram at That Dog Training Show, or Facebook on That Dog Training Show with Tanya Yarbrough, the fan page. You are welcome to leave comments or messages, things that you want to talk about, you want free advice, etc. You are welcome to do so and ask for it, and I will do my best to answer it as soon as possible. So I also want to let you know that for those of you who are in the Los Angeles area, there are some more classes that I'm teaching that are coming up, and some that I'm not that are really cool. If you go to bluecollarworkingdog.com, you can check out the dirty details and sign up ahead of time. But for right now, I just want to give you the rundown. This Sunday is the healing workshop, and it is a 2-hour intensive for dogs who are not so nice on the leash in terms of distractions or even dog aggression, leash aggression, etc. So, and the more dogs that are there, the better, actually, which sounds counterintuitive. I want some crazy dogs there. So, it's only $85, which is way cheaper than hiring me privately. So it's this Saturday or this Sunday, the 6th. So if you're not actually having fun that day, or you have time during the middle of the day, 11 to 1, that's rockin' and rollin'. The other thing that's coming up after that is the Art and Science of Scent Work. It's taught by a gentleman in law enforcement, and it's on September 13th. It's a workshop. It's not one, I don't think you bring your dogs to it, but I would check it out. And it is pretty intensive, so I heard it's really exciting, and if I get a chance, I will go to that myself. And the third thing that's coming up pretty soon, September 15th, my new round of Tuesday classes, midday. So those of you who are busy on the weekends like me, or you have kids in school or whatever, this is the perfect class for you to take the dog just before you have to pick up the kids from school. It's at 12:30 to 1:30, and it's starting on September 15th for basic obedience. And just so you know, my basic obedience classes are really intense, in that it is basic obedience plus intermediate plus a little advanced stuff. It is not your typical, we're in La La Land and having fun with the puppies kind of class. We have fun, but there's a lot of information to absorb, so it's very intense and requires you to do a lot of homework. Okay, and then finally on September, oh no, I shouldn't say finally because there's more. On September 20th, there's the PAC Leadership 101 seminar. And that's the one I've been running for 6 years now. It is no dogs. It's $30 a person or $50 a couple. 3 hours with a little break in there. And sometimes that's all people need to know is exactly what they're doing wrong with their dog in terms of boundaries at home that's kind of messing up the obedience that they're hoping for. And then there's also the 27th, which is the last Sunday of this month, puppy socialization. It is at 9 a.m. in the morning because the puppies are active then, so let's rock and roll with it. Let's just get on the floor and start talking about puppies for 6 weeks. So if you want any more information, again, go to bluecollarworkingdog.com, and I highly recommend if you are looking for, certain kinds of foods or want information about food, the staff there are really knowledgeable about foods for breeds, foods for different kinds of problems in terms of skin and etc. And they're very knowledgeable about training equipment as well. So, if you just want to get some good information from their staff is very well educated. So I would, stop by the store because it's kind of cool and, you're not going to be steered wrong on that one. All right, so let's get into the actual episode 62, You Stink. I was inspired by this show today for the title for today, because there's often that dilemma of what if your dog is not food motivated. And, just for those of you who don't know, food motivation refers to When a dog likes to have food as a reward for something, or is driven to do things for the reward of food. And there are often times that dogs are not food motivated. We use food because it's a primary reinforcer. In other words, it's something that's naturally physiologically important for a creature to have, is to have nutrients. And so when you use nutrients to help make associations, either to inspire a dog to learn to work with you or to help them overcome distractions, which are the two main categories that we use food and training for, generally, this should be a workable deal, but there's oftentimes you run into a situation where a dog will refuse to take the food. And the thing is that when we're doing this, when we're working with food, we have to remember, in order to solve the problem, we have to understand why it works most of the time. One was that it's a primary motivator. It's physiologically important for an animal to have nutrients. And two, it helps create an association of one thing that is positive, that primary motivator, to another thing that may or may not be positive to them or may not be understood by them. So we have to kind of understand why does food work other than the fact that their body needs nutrients, because obviously some dogs will refuse it. The reason it works in terms of motivating dogs is because of the scent. The primary sensory picker-upper, shall we say, in a very colloquial way, to the whole world for dogs is scent. So they use the nose, the scent, to actually first pick up the fact that there's even food in front of them. And so the beginning of that primary motivator is smell, is the smell of the food. So when we're dealing with a dog that refuses the food, and I'll talk about the two major reasons why a dog will refuse a food, for most cases, we have to understand that there's a certain thing that we can do that still works and will eventually inspire food motivation, and that is using scent as the association, not worrying about the food or receiving the food. There are two major reasons why a dog will refuse to accept food from somebody. One is fear, either fear of their outward environment or fear of the person itself, or that himself or herself. The dog actually senses fear, and when a dog is eating food, they're actually putting themselves in a vulnerable situation. So they are not only afraid of what's already in the universe around them right now, whether it's the person holding the food, the surroundings, or all of the above, but it is a fearful thing for a dog already scared and insecure to put them in the vulnerable position of eating. Just like pooping on the ground, stopping and pooping puts them in a situation where they might be fearful. So a lot of dogs won't poop outside because they're actually fearful of actually being in that vulnerable position and not being able to watch their environment or be able to run away easily. So when it comes to the refusing of the food, fear is a big reason. The second reason that dogs may refuse food is dominance. And sometimes it's both of those things at the same time, just so you know. A dominant dog can be also very insecure. So dominance is important to understand because it is actually an act of submission and trust, as I explained with the whole the vulnerability of being caught in the act of eating. It's a matter of a submission and trust to accept food from another creature. It's a pact, shall you say, or a contract, or a ritual, all of the above, of accepting that the one who is giving the food is the dominant one, and the one receiving it is a submissive one. Therefore, the one receiving it is now obligated in a way to listen to follow, to be aware of and attuned to the commands and desires of the one who gave the food. So if a dog thinks they're dominant because they've been spoiled, or they are actually wired to be a little more dominant than the average dog, they may refuse the food. So you have those two categories going on. And again, the key to all of this, when you have a situation where your dog won't actually accept the food, is to use the scent. One of the big mistakes, I made this mistake for a while, and then I figured it out because I started using my brain instead of my emotions. If a dog refuses the food, simply repossess the food, either by bringing it closer to your body or by putting it back in the treat bag if that's what you have, and you simply use the scent trail as something that you're going to make the dog associate with. Hopefully, if you ask the dog to sit or what have you before you offered the food, you said good already. So you said good, and now you're coming forward with a handful of food or a piece of food, and they get the scent trail coming towards their nose, and they turn their head away or duck away from you, and then you simply just bring it right back to you nice and calm, and they have this lovely association of the scent with the word good, with the fact that they did actual work, like the sit. So you haven't lost anything as a trainer if they haven't taken the food. They're still getting something really fabulous out of the deal, a really positive association. If it becomes negative if you try to force a situation or you become emotional about it. So what happens if it's in a more dominant dog, they will miss out on getting the food from you that you just offered. Okay? So when you repossess it, you actually retake the power, but you haven't made it negative. You haven't made it like, well, what's wrong with you, dog? You won't take the food. You haven't made it a frustration thing. When it comes to a very fearful dog, you'll still be associating that scent with the work or the distraction that you're trying to work through. So you haven't lost anything. So that's kind of a key thing to remember. The scent is more important than them actually receiving the food in the beginning. Yes, we want to try to inspire food motivation, but this is how you do it, rather than trying to force the situation if they refuse the food in that particular context. So one way to look at it is the fastest way to make a creature want something is to keep them from having it after they realize how awesome that something is. And we do that through the scent. So another key, this is the second key. The first one is remember that scent is more important than them actually receiving the food. Another key is to keep calm about the refusal of food during the process. And this is why. You stink differently every time your heart rate changes, every time your emotion changes. So just focusing on the heart rate, for instance, it is key to make sure that you associate good food smells, which is a primary motivator, the word good, and your calm heart rate all together. So this is why when people use all positive training for very specific things, it works when they do it correctly, which means they put no pressure on themselves or the dog. They remain calm through all the mistakes and all the craziness, and that's the only way for certain things. Now, I don't use all positive training for all things, but for certain things, it is the most appropriate way to handle it. So when you're trying to deal, especially when you're dealing with a very reactive dog, either in a negative aggressive way or a very reactive dog in terms of fear and fear reactions. So when you've got control of your environment, it's perfect for that. Okay, so it is key to associate the word good, the scent of food, hopefully something really nice, and your calm heart rate all together. This way, you can take one of those elements out, which is how we use food training, and then sort of eventually remove the food from most of our obedience with our dogs once they've learned the behavior, because they've associated the word good with the scent of food, the opportunity of getting food, and your calm or your happy reactions. So when you're